Hello everyone, good morning. Can anyone please confirm I'm audible or not? Okay then, last class where we stopped. Last class we discussed about React hooks. Okay, React hooks or life cycle methods? Yeah, life cycle methods. Life cycle methods are applicable for which components? Functional components or class components? Life cycle methods are applicable for class components or not? Okay, I have a component is there that is like app. Okay, total how many pages are there for this particular component? Total life cycle. How many phases are there in the life cycle? First of all, you have to load this component. Okay, so that one we can say like a mounting phase. Mounting phase. Loading one component. I have one component is there. If the component is not loaded, that time how we can render the content from the component. So you should have to load it. How we can load? Wherever you see the code in the element format with capital letter, then we can say like what? Then we can say like what? Then we can say like a mounting phase. That means loading. Once you load it, okay, here maybe a static content. Okay, once you load this component is going to display the content is like a static. Okay, sometimes it may be dynamic or not. If it is like a static, always the content is like the same. There is no change, nothing. There is no change, nothing. If it is like a dynamic content, there may be a chance to change that content or not. Okay, so first time load, you loaded some content. That content is like a dynamic. Want to change the content. Okay, once you change the content after the first time load, that phase we can say like a updating phase. That phase we can say like a updating phase. Okay, mounting is completed. You made some changes. Okay, the changes also reflected, means updating phase also completed. After some time, I thought like this component is not required for me. Then what you have to do? You have to remove this component or not from the DOM. Okay, so that phase we can say like what? Unmounting phase. That phase we can say like unmounting phase. Overall, these three phases are applicable for this particular class component. Okay, now tell me, in mounting phase is nothing but at first time load, at the time of loading, how many methods will execute? How many lifecycle methods will execute? First time, my constructor will execute. Constructor will execute. The next one, get derived state from props is going to execute. The next one, render method is going to call. The next one, component did mount is going to execute or not. These are the four lifecycle methods are going to execute when at the time of mounting phase. Within these four methods, which methods are mandatory, which methods are optional? That means this method should write in the component. This method you may write, you may not, based on your requirement. Which method is like a mandatory, which methods are like optional? Here, my render method is like a mandatory one or not. Why? Because if the render method is not there, my content is not there. If the content is not there, there is no meaning to write the component. So that my render method is like a mandatory one or not. Okay, remaining three. Okay, based on your requirement, you can overwrite. If you want, you can create, you can call this, you can define this. Okay, my React is going to call it. Okay, if this is not required, this method is not required for me, just leave it. Okay, now tell me when this method is going to execute. When it's going to execute, which method, when it's going to execute. Constructor will execute when? At the time of create an object or not. At the time of creating an object, this method is going to execute. Okay, this get derived state from prop, when it is going to execute, just before render method call or not. Okay, just before render call. Okay, render called for what? To render your content or not. Render your content. Render content. Okay, before rendering the content, if you want to perform some operation, where you want me to write this code? before rendering the content, if you want to perform some operation, you may write the code inside the constructor, or you may write the code in the get state from prop. Why? Because these two methods are executed when before the render method or not. Understand or not? What about the component did mount? What about the component did mount? My component did mount method is going to execute when? It's going to execute when? Once my content rendered inside the browser, after that, I want to perform some operation. My requirement is like that. Then you can go with what? Component did mount or not after render. After render. Okay. These are the four methods will execute when? At the time of mounting phase. Now, come to the updating phase. Now, in updating phase, when this phase is going to start? When this phase is going to start? In your component, if you made any state changes, or if you get like any prop values, new prop values, then this phase is going to active. Okay, then this phase is going to execute. Okay, this phase methods are going to execute. Now, overall, how many methods are there in the updating phase? Overall, how many methods are there in the updating phase? There has 5 lifecycle methods are there in the updating phase. Now, tell me, I have one state variable. The state variable has the data like a Sachin. After that, I changed the state variable data like a Dhoni. Then that time, can anyone guess which method Sachin turned to be Dhoni? Is nothing but you updated the state variable. Then my updating phase will active. My updated lifecycle methods will execute. How many methods overall? 5. So that order turn. First, which method will execute? Which method will execute in the updating phase? Which method will execute? The first one. Can anyone guess? Which method will execute? Okay. Can anyone confirm? Am I audible or not? You folks. Is it okay or not? Yeah. Okay. Okay then. Here. In updating phase, which life cycle method will execute first means get derived state from prop will execute first. Okay. Once my state changes Sachin to Dhoni, then my get derived state from prop will execute, and then there has one method called as a should component update. Should component update. This method is going to execute. Then anyone tell my should component update returns me what? A boolean value. So either it returns like a false or it's like true. Okay. Now, if it is like a false, can anyone tell? Can anyone tell? Okay, what is the output? What is the output means how it is going to behave my component updation phase. If it is like a false, you said like, hey, don't should component update. Do you want me to update the component with the new data? What is my previous data? Sachin. Okay, my new data is like Dhoni. You are asking to this guy, hey, do you want me to update the new data in the browser? You said like yes or no. You may be. Okay, if it is like no, okay, if it is like false, remaining 3 methods will never execute. Remaining 3 methods. Remaining 3 methods will not execute. Yes or no? If it is like a false, then that time the remaining 3 methods will execute or not. Okay, you said like yes. Render your new content. Who can render that content? My render method or not? My render method. Okay, once my render method executed, then my Sachin is turned to be Dhoni or not. That means my new content loaded or not. Okay, after the render method, my Sachin turned to be Dhoni. Yes, it's loaded. After the render method, okay, which method is going to execute? Okay, once my updations are completed, if you want to perform some operation, updations are completed. My Sachin turned to be Dhoni, that Dhoni loaded it in the browser. After that, okay, if you want to perform some operation, then we have one method is there. Component did update is the method. Component did update is the method. Now my requirement, once my updation is completed, Sachin turned to be Dhoni, but my requirement is like a previous update, previous data. Before updating, okay, which data is there? Sachin is the data. Okay, that data I want. Then how we can get that data means by using one of the method called as a get snapshot before update. Okay, which method is there? Get snapshot. Get snapshot before update is the method. Are you okay now? So far good up to here. Any questions so far? Any questions? Okay, okay then. The next one is like what? Which phase? Unmounting phase. Unmounting phase. Now tell me, mounting is nothing but what? Mounting is nothing but what? Mounting. Come on, mounting is nothing but what? Just you loaded one component inside the browser. That one we can say like a mounting. Unmounting is nothing but what? Just you are going to remove that component from the DOM. That is nothing but unmounting or not. Audio issue. Can anyone confirm is it okay or not now? Okay now? Is it okay now? Now it's okay? Can anyone confirm? Yeah. Okay then. Unmounting phase. Unmounting phase. Okay, mounting is nothing but just you loaded one component inside the browser. Inside the browser. Unmounting is nothing but just you are going to unload the component. Other than that, nothing. Okay, so that if you want to unload one component, how you can? First of all, one component is required. I have one component. Okay, this is my component. First of all, this component has to load. Has to load. That means this component content has to visible in the browser. After that, that content is removed from the browser. That one we can say like a unmounting. Okay, yesterday we discussed that is in the middle. So that can we see that example? Where is that? This is my unmounting phase or not? See, very simple thing. I have two components. This is my component. Another one is like app component. Inside my app component, this is the root component. This component is going to render inside your okay where inside your container, so that this app is your root component or not. My app is my root component. So here, if you observe in the app component render method, see this, there has my component loading is there or not. You loaded this component. That means you are mounting, but you not directly mounting this component. How you mounted this component? Based on some condition or not? Based on some condition. You know about the end. When how my end is going to work means the first expression is like true, then only to go to the next expression or not. If it is not true, then that time it never go to the next level or not. So if you observe here, this dot state dot is load. My this dot state dot is load is like what? My this dot state dot is load is like what? First time it's like true or not. So my this dot state dot is load is like true. My true, okay, this expression returns me true. So if it is like true, my end go to the next level or not. So that at first time load, my component is going to execute or not. See this. At first time load, my component is going to execute. At least my component is going to load. See this. This is my component content. Okay, if you observe here, this is my component. This is only my component content or not. So yes, mounted. Now I want to remove this content from the DOM. How we can remove the content from the DOM? Inspect it. Inspect it. Now if you go to the elements one, see this body. This is my container root element. This is my container. Inside the container, this is my app div. This is my app div. This is my root component only loaded within the container or not. Inside this one is my app content, and this one is my component content or not, used for unmounting. See this, used for unmounting. Now my requirement is I want to unmount it. I want to unmount it means it should have to remove from the DOM. So how we can means at the time of clicking on the button, okay, I want to unmount. How we can means very simple thing. See here, I already told to you and how it's going to work. My end is going to work like if it is like true, then only go to the next level. If I make like false, this state variable I changed like false, then that time if once again my render method is going to call inside this render method, my this dot state dot is load value is like what? False. If it is like false, it never go to this level, so that it is like not loading, it's unmounted or not. That is the thing is happened here. See here, this is loaded at first time load is nothing but mounted. Okay, my component mounted. If I click on this one, yes,
that component content removed from the DOM or not. It's nothing but what? Unmounting or not. That means my component unmounted or not. Okay, this is the one. My component loaded inside the browser, my component content loaded within the browser is nothing but mounting. Okay, that content you remove from the browser, we can say like a unmounting. So yes, my component unmounted. Which component unmounted? Tell me, which component unmounted? My component, this component unmounted or not? So that where my life cycle methods we are going to use means where my life cycle method we are going to use means here for unmounting phase there has only one life cycle method is there, that is called component will unmount is the method. Okay, the method name is what? Component will unmount. Will unmount is the method. Okay, so here you want me to write this method, that is the question. Here multiple components are there. There has two components are there. One is like app component, another one is like my component. Where you want me to write, that is the question or not. So that which component is going to unmount, which component is going to unmount this component or not. So that which component we are going to unmount, in that component only you have to override that method. Okay, what is the method name? Component will unmount is the method. Unmount is the method. The question is when this method is going to execute, that is the question or not. When this method is going to execute, that is the question. This method is going to execute just before unmounting this particular component. That means just before removing the content from this particular DOM, this method is going to execute. That means just before do something. Okay, if you want to do some cleanup operations and everything, that type of things we can handle inside this component will unmount. Okay, I am going to remove this component from the DOM. That means it's going to die. Okay, just before die, if you want to do something, then you can override this method. Now, can I write some alert message here? I'm going to unmount. Okay, now save it. Come here. Can I refresh my page? Okay, now it's mounted. If I click on this one, yes, I'm going to unmount, execute it. Still it is there in the DOM. If you observe here, still it's there. Okay, just before unmounting, this method is executed. Now if I said like, okay, yes, it's unmounted or not. This is the way my unmount is going to work. So for good, all the phases, which method is going to execute? Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Within these three phases, okay, these three phase methods are applicable for which component? Class component. Now you can ask the question like, hey, if I'm using these lifecycle methods only for the class component, what about the functional component? What about the functional component? Can I use like these lifecycle methods to my functional component? No. Okay, whatever we discussed, those lifecycle methods only applicable for class components. But my React people introduced new concept like hooks. By using the hooks, we can handle the lifecycle method in my functional component. So that at the time of hooks discussion, once again we'll discuss about these three lifecycle methods again. Three lifecycle phases, not methods. Three lifecycle phases. Okay. That time it's only for which components? Functional components. Okay, at that time we only discuss about the functional components. The hooks are only functional components. So for good, up to okay. Can anyone confirm? Am I audible or not? Is it okay or not? Voice? Yeah. Okay. Okay then. The next one. Now you can ask the question, right? Okay, these many methods are there. These all methods called by whom? Okay, total 10 methods are there. 5 plus 4 plus 1. Okay, these all methods called by whom? You or React. Who called these methods? These all methods called by whom? Called by React people only or not? Called by React people. Okay, I have one method is there. Okay, it is called by some other person. Okay, I have one method is there. Okay, this method is called by some other person. If this method is called by some person, if this method is called by some other person, how I know that that person is going to pass how many arguments? That is the question or not? Okay, I have one method is there. If I call the method, then the time, yes, I can pass one argument and handle this argument. But this method called by some other person, overall 10 methods are there. The 10 methods called by not you, that 10 methods called by React. Some other person called one method is nothing but how you know that one. how many arguments you passed. Okay, how many arguments you passed. Really, if you call, then the time you will put like 10. Yes, one argument, so that I can handle this argument here. Now these methods are not called by you, that's called by React. So that now our discussion is like how many arguments they are going to pass while calling these methods. Okay, at the same time, when we are going to use exactly these methods. Okay, in which situation we are going to use these methods. That is our next discussion. Got it? Okay, let's do that. Okay, come on. Start with the mounting phase. Overall, how many methods are there? Overall, how many methods are there? 4 methods are there. Now, constructor called by whom? Constructor called by whom? Constructor called by whom? Who create an object? That guy only. Okay, that guy only is going to call. That time only my constructor is going to execute or not. So that my constructor take how many arguments? My constructor may be different types of constructors. One is like default constructor, is nothing but without arguments. Another one is like parameterized constructor. In this case, parameterized constructor is there or not? That is my question. Oh, how we can check? Okay, am I passing some arguments for this particular guy or not? Okay, that is my question. Can anyone guess? Okay, very interesting thing. Okay, see this. Very simple thing. My requirement is I have a component. Which component this is? App component. Okay, for this app component, I want to pass one prop. Can anyone tell how we can pass the prop? For this component, I want to pass some data. How we can pass the data? When you can pass the data to one component, when you can pass at the time of loading, at the time of loading, at the time of loading only we can pass the data. Okay, how we can load one component? How we can load one component in the element format wherever you are using, that is like nothing but loading or not. This app component where it is like element format in the overall script, where it is like in the element format, line number, tell me. Line number 34, this is like an element format. This is only the loading one or not. At the time of loading only, we can pass the data to whom? We can pass the data to my component. So here I am passing some data. Yes, you are right. Name equals to such. Yes, can I or not? Yes, you can pass it. Now this data go to which component? Now this data go to which component? This data go to my app component. Now tell me, my app is like which type of component? My app is like which type of component? Is it like class component or is it like functional component? If it is like class component, how we can take the data? If it is like functional component, how we can take the data? Tell me. Okay, my component is like which type of component? My component is like a class component or not? If it is like a class component, any data which is coming from outside, how we can represent that data? Can anyone guess? If it is like a class component, okay, any data which is coming from outside is nothing but out of my component, my searching, not inside my app. That is coming from outside only, simply. Outside, wherever it is not a matter. Wherever it is not a matter. Okay, any data which is coming from outside to my class component, how we can represent data? Props, very good. Okay, now here, instead of this searching, can I put like props? Okay, how we can write it? This dot, prop dot, name. Yes, working expected or not? Okay, it should work. Okay, stop searching, add full. Now, can I run this one? Yes. Open with the live server. Yeah, don't print it. Don't print it. It's totally fine. But my requirement is this prop data, listen carefully. This prop data, I want to print inside the constructor. I want this prop data inside the constructor. That is my requirement. Okay. How you can check? Can I write like this? One console message can I write it? Console dot log of. How you can write? My prop value is okay. What is that? One dot props dot name. Now come here. I want a little bit font size. Now come here. Can I refresh my page? Can I go to my console? Okay, remove this one. Refresh. Yes. Okay. See this? There has an error. What is that error? Can I read this one? Cannot read property name of undefined. This is my error. Okay, in your JavaScript, any technology like Angular or React or Vue or Backbone.js, this type of errors you may get like multiple times. Okay, this is one of the error message. What is that? I am not able to read name property. I am not able to read the name property of undefined. What it means? What it means? Okay, why this error came? Because of this line only I added. Because of that line only this error came or not? If you command this one, if I command this one, yes. If I command this one, yes, it's working as expected. Okay, which line you added? Because of that line only you get this error or not? Because of that line only you get this or not? That means the problem is with this line. The problem is with this line. Now analyze it. Cannot read property. Which property I am not able to read? Which property I am not able to read? Name. Okay, so that this is my name property. Name property. I am not able to read it of undefined. That means the name property you are trying to read from where? From which value? Undefined or not. So that this is the name I am trying to read from undefined is nothing but my this dot props value is like what? My this dot props value is like what? My this dot props value is like what? Undefined or not? Undefined or not? Okay, inside the constructor, my this is available, right? Available, right? Why it's like undefined then? Okay, in the render method, same code I use this dot props dot name. Okay, there it's working, but here it's not working. Why? Okay, can we debug that one? Can we debug it? Okay, put the debug. Put the debug. Yes. Now come here, see, very interesting. Now it gives me error. Whatever is that? This one cannot read property syntactical error. Okay, so that can I remove this one? Yes, you can remove it. Now can I use my page? Yes. Now tell me, my constructor executed is nothing but my object created. This is available, not available inside the constructor. This is available or not available? Come on, fast, respond. This is available or not available? Okay, but this is pointing to what now? But this is pointing to what now? Okay, it's like window or app. It's like window or app. Okay, but this is pointing to app or not? How we can check it? Line number 19, my execution stopped, so that you can check in the console or not. Whenever okay you are debugging some code, okay, you can pause the debug. Okay, you can pause the debugging. Okay, and then go to the console. You can see that particular variable values. So I paused my debugging. I'm not doing anything. Okay, go to my console and do something like this. Yes. Now this is there. Now this is there. After okay. But good or not? Okay. Now come to my source. Come to source. Not any properties is nothing but any variables, any values. Why? Why this app only contains 0 arguments? Why this particular one contains 0 or 0 properties? See, this app is an object. It's like nothing. Why? Can anyone guess? Perfect. Okay, here, see this. My constructor executed. My constructor executed. Okay, that means my object created with what? How many properties? No properties, nothing. Now, my super you not called. If my super is not called, then the time my super class members are not initialized. My super class members are what? Not initialized. Okay, not allocate the memory to perform initialization. Nothing will happen. Okay, once the memory allocated, then only we can use it or not. Then only we can represent that variables or not. Then only we can represent that variables or not. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, I'm back. Okay, see this. My object created. Yes, this is only the proof. Yes, object created. Okay, here there is no values, nothing is there. Why? Because okay, my own members also not yet executed. Okay, no own members, nothing is there. At the same time, my super class members also not initialized or not. Once you allocate the memory and you perform initialization, then only it's ready to use or not. So here the super not yet executed. Now can we execute the super? Yes, executed the super. Now can you check my this? Okay. Can anyone tell? Your expectation is like, now see here. Okay, here also nothing will happen. When it is going to initialize, we'll see. After that, now come here. Now come here. Inside the constructor, how it is going to behave. Now see my this. My this is there. My this is there. Okay. If you observe here, my this dot props initialized or not. This dot props. It takes some time. It takes some time to perform initialization. Yes, my this is there. What is my props value? Yes. What is my prop value? See here. What is my prop value? My this is there. What is my prop value? Can anyone guess? Can anyone tell? What is my prop value? Here my prop value is like what? Undefined or not. So my this dot props is like what? Undefined. Undefined. Now you are calling name on undefined. Then that time it gives me the same error or not. Say this. Okay, cannot read property, name of undefined or not. Okay, now you can ask the question like, hey, why it's like undefined? That is our next question. Why it's like undefined? What happened here at the time of calling my super? Whatever my super class variables are there, that should be come into my app class or not. So can you check inside this particular super class constructor what they written the code react.component? Okay, do it. Now refresh the page. Now refresh the page. Yes, this is my constructor. Okay, my super class constructor is nothing but which one is the super class? Come on, react.component. Can you go to the react.component? Okay, where is my react.component? Inside my react development.js or not? Okay, here this is only the one or not. This is only the one or not. It is which type of component? Can anyone guess? Which type of component this is? That means which type of class? Tell me first. Okay, it's like a functional component. It's like a functional class or not. Okay, my functional class is nothing but it's like a constructor classes or not. Constructor classes or not. That means my function itself acting like one class as well as constructor or not. My functional classes are like a constructor classes. It is acting like a class as well as constructor also. So you are calling super here. You are calling super here. You are calling super here is nothing but you are calling this one or not. You are calling this constructor or not. Yes. Okay, it's coming here. Okay, you are calling super is nothing but okay, it's calling my react.component or not. Come on here, my super you called with how many arguments? You called with how many arguments? You called my parent class constructor with how many arguments? Come on. Zero. No arguments, nothing. You not pass any arguments. If you not pass any arguments, then that time, see, my component, react.component, expecting what? 3 arguments. What are those? Props, context, and updater. See here, you not passed anything, so that my props are like what? Undefined. My context is like what? Undefined. My update is like what? Undefined. Now this dot props is the variable inside this particular class. Okay, assigned with what? Assigned with what? Assigned with undefined or not. Okay, context assigned with what? Undefined or not. Okay, refs assigned with what? Nothing is there, so that is like default object. My updater is like undefined or not. So my component react.component class members initialized with what? Undefined. So because you didn't pass any value, you didn't pass any value, that is only the proof or not. Agreed? Yes or no? Okay, so that my this dot props now what? My this dot props now is like a undefined or not. My this dot props like undefined or not. Agreed? Okay, if you want proof, okay, one more. Okay, really, if you pass some data, will it take by react.component constructor? Can we check it? Yes, you can check it. I'm passing like okay, 10, 20, 30. For example, think like that. Okay, can I refresh my page? Yes. Okay, now it's coming here. You're calling super. The super class constructor will execute by passing how many arguments? Props 10, context 20, updater 30. So my this dot props are like what? Okay, come here. Okay, where is that? I clicked on this one, right? Okay, here you can put it. Refresh again. Now come here. Okay, my constructor executed. Now come here. My superclass constructor called by passing these values 10, 20, 30. My this dot props now what? 10. So if you come here, see this, my this is this one, my props are like a 10, my context is like 20, my updater is like 30. Now my this dot props is like undefined or having some value 10, having some value 10. Okay, but my this dot props value is like 10. Is it valid value? My this dot props like which type? My this dot props is like which type? It's an object type or not? Okay, for our purpose, just I'm passing these values. It's not a right value or not. It's not a correct values. Okay, so for good, whatever you pass the data here, that data only my React component will give it back or not. Will it give it back or not? You not pass anything. That's the reason my this dot props like what undefined or not. My this dot props like undefined. These things are happened inside the constructor only. I'm talking about the lifecycle method. What constructor only. So I don't want to pass like 10. I don't want to pass like 10. I don't want to pass like 10. Which value you want me to pass? I want this one is like a prop or not. So these values, how I can get inside the constructor? That is the question. These values, how I can get inside the constructor? Okay, how means very simple thing. This app at the time of loading, my React is going to create what? Object. Okay, if nothing is there, he is going to call what? Okay, the constructor with the default values. If some values are there, he gives the chance to you, okay, for parameterized constructor. If nothing is there, yes, okay, you can use like a default constructor, no problem at all. If some value is there here, value is there, my React people pass this value as argument, as an argument to my constructor. With the constructor having one argument, that one we can say like what? That one we can say like a, that one we can say like what? That one we can say like a parameterized constructor or not. Okay, now here you have some data. So this data, if you want at the time of creating an object, so my constructor is like default constructor or having some data. Okay, it's not a default constructor. Okay, by passing some data, having some data as an argument. So how we can get it? How we can get it as a parameterized constructor or not? So can we write a parameterized constructor like this? Okay, now can I refresh my page? Now refresh this one. Now say this. Which one you are loading? Mountain only, right? It's not saved. Now come here. Can I refresh my page? Okay, see this? It's interesting. Say you are loading my app with some data. At the time of creating an object for this particular app. Okay, my React people what? My React people calls like a default constructor as well as parameterized constructor. If the parameterized constructor is there, okay, he is going to call that parameterized constructor by passing your data as an argument or not. See this, my name Sachin or not. Agreed? Yes or no? Inside the constructor, if you want to get the props at the time of loading, how we can get it? How we can get it? By using parameterized constructor or not. So can we give the proper name instead of A, B, X, Y? Can we give the proper name? Can we give like props? What's the problem with this? Any name you can give it. Can I give like a prop? So here, can I write like console.log of okay, constructor argument prop? Okay, how we can get it? My props dot name or not? My props dot name. Now here, now can anyone tell what is my output? Can anyone guess what is my output if I run this one? What is my output? What is my output? Sachin. Okay, perfect. Now, can you come here? Can you refresh my page? Where is my Sachin? Where is my Sachin? See my console? Cannot read property, name of undefined again. Cannot read property, name of undefined. Cannot read property, name of undefined. Okay, again the same error remains or not. Okay, here if you observe, constructor executed, constructor argument. Okay, prop Sachin. Okay, see this. If I refresh my page, okay, if I refresh my page, see how why it's executed multiple times. Can you check it? This is my app. This is my app. Okay, now come here. It's okay, right? Anywhere you call like 2 times, no. Okay, perfect. It's okay, no problem. Now come here. Okay, if you observe here, okay, I don't want to remove that one. Okay, line number 29. Line number 29. Okay, I want to use props here. Here also I want to use like props. Now see here, my constructor argument props Sachin executed. Okay, but still there has an error is that I cannot read property name of undefined. Still there. But my requirement is here also I want to place like Sachin by using constructor argument. At the same time, my variable, one of the variable coming from where React.component, that guy also has to give the name Sachin only. Then how we can? What code change you want me to do? What code change you want me to do? Yes. You are calling my super without any argument so that my props are like what undefined there. So can we pass your props now? Already my props object is there, right? Can we pass that props now? Now check it. Now come here, go to my source. Okay, just check. Now see my props. Okay, now my constructor executed. Okay, now come here, super. Now my super class constructor executed. See my props. Yes, my name Sachin is there or not. Now that is assigned to one of the variable like this dot props or not. Okay, now see my console. My props. This one is that this dot props. My this is like a my this dot props, which is coming from where React dot component. Okay, this is my name or not. Understand how we can get the props inside the constructor. Inside the constructor, if you want to get the props, only one way is there, like what? By using my parameterized constructor. Using the parameterized constructor, we can get it or not. If you want to really use here by using props, yes, you can use it. Okay, if you want to use by using this dot props variable, then you can give this props to my super. Then the time there is no need to use this props directly. Okay, you can use like normal syntax, like what this dot props dot name, like you can use it. Understand? Any questions so far? Any questions so far about the constructor? Okay. Now, can I write the constructor like this? Like this. Can I write it? Can I write it? Is it the valid code or not? Hmm? Can I write it? Can anyone? Okay. Now, if you write this code in your JavaScript, overloading concept is there. Is my overloading concept is there in your JavaScript? In my JavaScript, is it considered your arguments list? Is it considered my arguments list? Is my overloading concept is there in JavaScript? In your JavaScript, there is no overloading concept. Okay, overloading concept is not there, then the time how it's going to work, this is my function f1. You created again the same function. Okay, this one. Which one is the latest one? That one is going to override the previous function or not. Okay, here there is no overloading concept in JavaScript, so that if you write any number of methods, it's not a matter. One is the latest one. That one is going to execute or not. Always the latest one is going to override the previous one. Okay, that is the thing is happened. Okay, based on your requirement, if you want default constructor, then you can go with this. Okay, if you want parameterized constructor to get the props, then you can add like an argument to this particular constructor. Don't write like both. Okay, overloading concept is there in Java and .NET, but not in JavaScript. Agreed? Okay, okay then. Shall we go to the next level? Okay, which one is the constructor? After constructor, which method is going to execute? After constructor, which method is going to execute? Come on, in the life cycle methods, after constructor, which method is going to execute? My get derived state from prop or not? My get derived state from prop. Okay, both should not written. If you write also, okay, see here, if you write also, then that time this constructor, parameter this constructor override by this constructor. That means final constructor is default only. If you put this one before here, then the constructor is override by this one. Okay, finally this one only there. So don't write both. Don't write both. Okay, which one you want, that one you can write. One more. Okay, that is the one. Now, the next one is like what? Get derived state from prop. Can anyone tell few things about this get derived state from prop? Okay, two statements can you write? My get derived state from props is like which type of method? It's like a static method. Then this method is going to execute just before render method is going to execute or not. Okay, when exactly we are going to use this method? Recommended way. How to use this method? Okay, by seeing this error messages, you can say warnings, not error message, warnings. See this. Okay, here if you observe, okay, just remove the debugger, not required. Can you go to my console? See, yeah, get error state from prop, initialize the state value is like undefined. Okay, there is no state value, nothing is there. This is not a recommended. Instead, define this initial state by assigning some object inside like that or not. That means my get derived state from prop used is nothing but what? Okay, you should work with some state variables. If the state variable is not there, there is no work, nothing. Recommended way, the way of using this get derived state from prop is for what? To do some operations on state variables, so that can we create one state variable, then the time how it looks like. Okay, and one more question. When exactly you can write constructor? Tell. When exactly you can write constructor? Okay, when you can go with the constructor? Can anyone guess? When you want me to override the constructor? The one argument. Okay, my constructor when you want me to override means at first time load. Listen carefully. At first time load, I want to perform some operation on my current object this. First time load, I want to do some operations with my current object this. I want to use my current object this. Then you can go with what? Then you can go with my constructor or not. Okay, now here in this case, are you using this here? Are you using this? Can you work with this? Okay, this is like console message printing. Okay, then you have to use is nothing but yes, you can write something and you have to use somewhere. Okay, in this case, exactly if you tell constructor is not required. Constructor is not required. Okay, when you can go with the constructor is the constructor means I have to do some work with my constructor. I have to do some work with my current object this, not constructor, current object this. So which work? Can anyone guess? This dot name. I want to add something like yes. I did some work with my this or not. Agree? The statement we place the recommended place to write this statement. Always constructor. The next one, state variable. This dot state is equals to okay. My n equals to dot or such. Okay, you are doing some work with what my this or not. So that this statement also which place is the recommended place to write this statement. That should be inside the constructor or not. Okay, another one. Can anyone guess? I have one function is there. I want to bind that function with my current object this. This is also recommended place or not. Okay, my constructor is the recommended place to write this statement or not. Like this, if you have any work with this at first time load. Okay, remember that word sentence. First time load. Then you can go with what? A constructor or not. Agreed? Okay. Now can I write this dot state equals to name such I created one state variable. Now come here. Can I refresh my page? See, one warning gone or not? So if the state variable is not there, then the two warnings came. One warning gone. Okay, this warning also I don't want. Then can anyone guess? Get derived state from prop a valid state object. Okay, or null must be returned. Okay, you have written like a undefined inside. That means here by get derived state from prop, if you observe, you not written anything, but he said like return something. What is going to written? What is the use of that written? Well, we'll see later. But for now, I don't know what I have to written. So that we do one thing: simply return one null value. Return null value. Okay. Now see this. Yes, there is no warnings, nothing or not. Okay, if you want to use the get error state from prop, make sure okay the state variable should be there as well as it should return some value or not. Agreed? So far good. Okay, perfect. Who called this method? That is my next question. Who called this method? Who called this method? React. While calling, how many arguments he is going to pass? That is only the question or not. While calling, how many arguments he is going to pass? Okay, how we can check? If you call, then that time you know exactly. But React people call, right? How many arguments he is going to pass? If you want to check, yes, you can write it A comma B comma C comma D comma B comma. Like you can put it. Okay. Now, can I refresh my page? Now go to my source. Okay, just remove all the debuggers. Okay, deactivate or remove all the breakpoints. Okay, now refresh my page. Yes, my constructor executed, and then my get derived state from prop call. Inside my get derived state from prop, okay, how many arguments you passed? You passed like 5 arguments. But here, see how many arguments he passed. I don't know exactly, so that I passed like multiple. See A, yes, argument he passed. B, yes, argument he passed. The next one, okay, the next one, C, undefined. D, undefined. E, undefined. That means how many arguments he passed? First tell me. My get derived state from prop take, how many arguments? That is the question. Get derived state from prop take, how many arguments? Okay, how many arguments are there? Come on, respond. Okay, this is one argument, this is one argument, this is one argument, this is one argument. 5 arguments are placed. But here, C value undefined is he not passed anything. Okay, so how many values he passed? 2 values. So that I get derived state from prop take, how many arguments? 2 arguments or not. Yes. Okay, here. Okay, now come here. Can I refresh my page? Can I refresh? Yes. Now tell me about the arguments. First argument is what? 2 arguments. Okay, fine. First argument is what? Is this one. My second argument is what? This one. What is this one? Name Sachin. Can anyone guess? What is this name Sachin? What is this name Sachin? My name Sachin is a prop or not? My name Sachin is a prop. Okay, so my first argument is like what? Prop value. My first argument is like what? Prop. My second argument is what? The second argument is what? It's like location, right? My location is like what? State or not? So that here, my first argument you can say like what? Prop. Okay, and my second argument is like what? State or not. Agreed? Get the state from take how many arguments? So we're good. Okay, perfect. Now the thing is, what is my state value? Location Mumbai. Can I update the state value to Ranchi? Okay, how can I update one state variable? Can anyone guess? How we can update one state variable? Can anyone guess? How we can update one state variable? How much can you update? Okay, by using that state method or not? Okay, location is like what? Is it the valid statement or not? Simply tell me. Is it the valid statement or not? I want to update simply location to Ranchi. Is it the valid statement or not? Is it the valid statement or not? This dot state dot. Then this one I remove first time. Refresh my page. Focus also not required. Remove it. Okay, say this Sachin Mumbai. Okay. Now this value I want to change it. Okay, so how we can change inside this get derived state from prop? I'm trying to change it. How we can find this dot set state location is right. Be it what or not? That is my question. now come here. Can I refresh my page? Yes, it gives me some error. What is that error? Let me see. Cannot read property, set the state of undefined. Okay, because of which line you got this error? Because of which line? Recently you placed this line or not? Okay, can I copy this error? Can I paste here? Now you can see. Cannot read. Okay, the statement is like what is dot my set state equals to my location is like range. Okay, now the message is like cannot read property set state. I'm not able to read it. From where? From my this or not. So my this is like what? Undefined or not. Undefined or not. But I already told you one statement. The methods which are called by React by default my this is available. Okay, the methods which you called, then the time you should have to bind. You should have to bind. Okay, but this one you called or my React people called. React people called. Then the time this should be there, right? But my this is not there, right? Why? Can anyone guess? Why my this is not there? Can anyone guess? Anyone? Why? Because my get derived state from prop is like which type of method? Is like a static method or instance method? My get derived state from prop is like which type of method? It's like a static method or not? Inside the static context, okay, my instance variables we never use. Okay, we are not able to use. Inside the static context, instance members not allowed. Instance members not allowed. Here is static context. Inside the static context, instance members are not allowed. But in the instance context, you can use the static variables, no problem at all. Inside the static context, we should not use. We can't use my instance variable. So this is not pointing to what? My app. So that my set state is like what? Undefined or not. Okay, that means this is like undefined. My set state you are going to call on undefined or not. But still my requirement is that one only. Then how we can retrieve, how we can change that value, okay, by using set state is not possible. Okay, how we can change this value to branch it, that one we can see in tomorrow's class. Tomorrow onwards you can join exactly at 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. Okay, the class will start exactly at 8:05. Okay, you can try to join at 8. Okay. Okay then, thanks guys. Thanks for joining. Tomorrow we'll see you.